I also don't presume to know what God cares about. I try not to. I have my suspicions about what God cares about for us, for people, for beings, But I try not to presume that I know these things. These are things I either was made aware of during the dream. I did receive like a download. I'm trying to refer to it as a download lately because I feel like that's a good way to think about it. Even in the Bible it says, God will reveal things to people through revelation. And to me, it's like revelation is sort of like when an idea comes to you all at once. It's not like a spoken thing. Like, it's not like God whispers to you in English, something. It's like when you discover something that's true or wise, it sort of does come like all in one moment. And then it's like an object almost in your mind. And then you can zoom in on the details. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's kind of how I see like when you receive a revelation about like how, like the truth about something, how something works. Like you realize how maybe you're working on a problem, or you're doing some problem solving, or you're trying to fix something, and when you realize the truth, that is kind of like what I'm talking about. The truth comes, to me, truth and wisdom are two of the things that we as human beings can interface with that are from God, let's say. Meaning that all truth, all real truth and wisdom are divine, they're from God, and whatever that means to you. Like, what does it mean? What is something, everything's from God, but some ideas and some concepts and some things are from man. They don't come from God. They come from man's machinations, man's desires. Did God create pornography? Well, I don't know. And again, we could debate whether or not pornography is good or bad, but I believe that's more like that's an invention of man. To fulfill man's desires, and it's not from God. But we could debate these things, and it is all about like, how do you conceptualize God? And that's kind of one of the hardest questions, I think, if you are a person who's high in openness. Trevor's got some of my scripts written in one of the notebooks. Bro, that's cool, man. Thank you. The Star Wars one, yeah. I've actually, somebody else requested that. Somebody said, hey man, can you just upload your scripts to your videos? And I'm going to start trying to do more stuff like that on the Discord. So I do have in the server, the shared story server, I have a resources link, or sort of section. And I've just been trying to upload like little, there's not much up there right now, but you influence your kids more than you know. Yeah, I struggle with that. I mean, I think every parent struggles with, I don't know, man. Like, it's tough. Like, it's tough out there. I struggle a lot with, like, my wife and I both struggle a lot with how much video games is appropriate for a child. Like, are video games even appropriate for children? We've tried to take a kind of middle ground on a lot of these questions. Like, not too much, not too little. We're trying to ride this crazy balance. Like, we let our kids play video games, but it's only certain video games, and only like 2 nights a week. They're pretty young. They're at elementary school still, but they have friends at elementary school that play video games every day. And I don't think that that's a good thing. Just get out of God's way. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, like, I mean, that was, I think, my whole materialist, my 20s and 30s, like, I was just getting in God's way. I was in my own way, and the universe, God, I think, tries to tries to show you things, and even if it's just in the way your life sort of unfolds in relation to what you believe. I believed that the universe was just a bunch of atoms and molecules, and my life kind of played out as if that was the case, because my life kind of I didn't have much direction, and I again, hedonism, meaning just like self-gratification and sort of selfish pleasures of whether it's was drinking, maybe alcohol, I think was a big one for me. Women was a big sort of a big problem. It wasn't so much. I mean, I had some good relationships here and there, but most of the time I was just chasing low-hanging fruit, let's say. If I was really attracted to a woman, I would pursue her even if I knew that she was probably not good for me. And that was a big problem, when I was younger. I had these raging appetites that I didn't feel like I needed to have any discipline over them, and that's kind of how I guess I define sort of the hedonistic thing I'm trying to describe about my 20s and 30s was, low, not enough boundaries and limitations, and I became addicted to not just alcohol, but to chasing women, and yeah, um, the wrong women most of the time. And my materialist sort of philosophy led me into a ditch. And I know that's not the case for everybody who's a materialist. I've seen, people who are not spiritually minded live moral and, sort of happy, constructive lives. It's not like I think all materialists descend into the abyss. Maybe I was also kind of dumb and irresponsible. That's probably the case. But for me, having a more spiritually grounded approach to life was the cure for a lot of my problems, and it really did change everything, and I'm eternally grateful,